wet hops are one of the better ways to show the expression of what hops will do in any given style of beer.
When you go to drink a craft beer, you don't think about where do the ingredients in this beer come from. But you have that relationship with the farmer to know what's going on in the field, and you have that relationship to be able to get exactly what you want.
Everything I hear is they are excellent, very innovative. House Brewing is true to the hop cone.
They want to see how they can take fresh hops from here in Oregon back to Massachusetts to make a wet hop beer.
We have never had an East Coast brewery attempt what they are doing today.
We've been farming in Oregon since the 1850s. There was a little break earlier with the gold rush. We have 4 different farm locations, and we have approximately 700 acres here at the alluvial farm. Got 16 different varieties. I could sit here and list them. Majority, there's Citra, Mosaic, Simcoe. I think Treehouse is the only one we know of that's getting fresh hops for a wet hop beer from us this year. Just the distance getting them over there is difficult, so it's going to be interesting to see how this turns out for them.
Carpenter Ranches has been growing hops for over 150 years now. We're on the 6th generation in the Yakima Valley. We have about 1,600 acres of hops. Quite a few family members involved in the business. There's, I believe, 7 of us cousins that help run the day-to-day business and 2 uncles that are the owners. My uncle, Craig, who has worked in the machines his entire life, kind of got tired of the main vine clogging up the machine, and a while back he came out with a design which is essentially kind of like a pitching machine, and it takes the vine of the hop and it strips it in the field. That harvester helps us a ton with labor. It takes a few less people, and they work very fast. It guides the hop into the track, and the diviner portion is the bottom of it, and then the rest gets put into a trailer and brought into the picking machine. No, wet hop beers is something that's really gained popularity in probably the last decade or so. First couple of years when people started approaching us about wet hops, you might have had 2 or 3 breweries trying it out. Now we have breweries coming from all over the Pacific Northwest and beyond. But in the Pacific Northwest, it's actually very unique because the hops will degrade over time if they're not treated properly. And so most other breweries don't even get a chance to attempt to do a fresh hop beer. Treehouse Brewing Company's here today to pick up about 400 pounds of wet Citra, really great quality this year. And they are collecting them, putting them into drums, purging the oxygen out to try to prevent any oxidation, and hauling it all the way back on I-90, I'm assuming, to get back to Massachusetts.
Billy Goat Hop Farm is a small little farm in Montrose, Colorado that Nate and Lauren actually saw before they won the Cascade Cup. We've been dealing with them ever since.
You know, if you'd ask any like classic hop farmer, nobody would say that these guys could come down here and win it like 2 years in a row. And I don't think, well, I know nobody, that's a US competition. Nobody's won it 2 years in a row.
Fresh hop beers on the West Coast are really popular. They're not as popular on the East Coast, but we've had some good success lately with wet hop trails, wet hop pink, wet hop strata. And we get those harvested like day of and shipped over to us. This year we're trying to do something a little different. It's kind of hit or miss. I mean, we don't necessarily always know what we're gonna get out of a fresh hop, but you know, we've had good luck with going to different farms and asking them for fresh hops and just seeing what happens with them. And Cascade, we know that the Billy Goats turned out really well. We've always liked what we smelled in the samples, and we're pretty confident that they're growing some good stuff this year, so we're just gonna go ahead and get 400 pounds of it headed our way and see what we can do with it.
My name's Audrey Gelhausen, and my better half is Christella Bianca. We're Billy Goat Hop Farm. We started the farm in 2017. Don't sell to any brokers. We sell directly to brewers. There's a lot of breweries in Colorado, and we just hit the ground running. It's kind of funny because this particular parcel was in barley for beer, decades ago before we were here, but it was kind of like a fun little oh, this is our spot. We built the trellis ourselves, over 2,300 poles, 57 miles of cable, 352 concreted deadmen. I never want to hold a 16-pound pry bar again, because turns out it's an old riverbed, which means it has great soil, but also a lot of big rocks. A lot more hand digging than I thought. Chris and a buddy built the warehouse, which is pretty impressive. For the USDA, you're a beginner farmer for 10 years. And going into my 8th summer, 10 years doesn't seem long enough. I'm like, man, there's a lot to learn. Yeah, and it's a pretty fun adventure.
You like to see even cones going up. You don't want to see it concentrated on one side or the other. Sometimes they say that's the way the sun hits the plants. Those ones might get more sun. But you want to see, obviously, just like anything, green leaves, you don't want to see too much brown on them. I didn't know what to expect coming to Billy Goat. It's fun to see the subtle differences of every farm and how they do things. I don't think you'd expect to find hops like this far away from where we think it is. We've worked really hard to be able to do this. We wouldn't be able to just kind of run out on a quick grocery run to Colorado to grab some Cascade and then head back for one beer. 5 years ago, that just wasn't a thing. But we've been fortunate that our guests and Nate let us play and are not really dictating to continue to play by the same rule book,
Hop terroir is real, just like it is with wine and grapes. We're at 6,100 feet in elevation, and we're a heck of a lot further south than Pacific Northwest, and our soil, everything is different here.
It's fun to see the differences in the terroir stuff of where these hops are grown and how they're taken care of. You can really see the differences region to region with some of these similar varieties. How about that one? That was good?
Yeah, that was good.
Not as good. Should we bring it back down? We're gonna purge these drums and get the oxygen out of them. Oxygen helps the hops kind of degrade faster. So nitrogen being inert kind of keeps the decaying process of hops out of that drum, so it'll make the trip across the country, hopefully in a good state.
Using nitrogen to flush agricultural products is a method as old as time. And for us to be able to work directly with any farm to bring these hops back to us in pristine condition is an investment that Treehouse took upon ourselves to see through.
We are at the beautiful 4-Star Farms in Northfield, Massachusetts, and we are a hops farm that's been growing hops for the last 16 years. Today, where we have 17 acres of production and 8 different aromatic varieties that we grow on a big level. I think Cascade would be our best seller. It comes with a name that people recognize and with a performance that people recognize. And that I consider our gateway hop. That tends to be what gets brewers into the door. But then from the quality and the terroir that they see in our Cascade creates an opportunity to explore other varieties that we grow here. We were super excited to have the folks from Treehouse out here today. It's our first opportunity to be able to walk them around the farm and show them what we do, to talk about the quality of the hops that we grow and the various aromatics that we think would play really well in their beers. So the guys from Treehouse grabbed some Centennial hops from us today. Those are always our first variety ready to be picked. Centennial is an old school classic hop that's one of my favorites. Super bright lemon aromatics, a little bit of floral notes, and on a good day you get a little bit of bubblegum, a little bit of sweet grass, and they are the perfect hop to start a wet hopped beer with. We have huge hopes for this farm. It's a family farm, and basically what we're trying to do is create a sustainability model here that focuses in on hops and brewing. We would love to expand our hops production, meaning more acreage, more equipment, more efficiency. But all of that is for our love of beer, our love of hops, and the hopes that this farm can be passed down to the next generation.
On the West Coast, wet hop beers are a massive hit, some of the most anticipated releases of the year. While that energy hasn't fully reached the East Coast yet, we hope our efforts this year can help unlock their value here. Spending time in a hop field is one of the most fulfilling parts of being a brewer. There's something incredibly special about seeing firsthand how growers, regions, and the hops we choose come together in your glass. It strikes at the core of what we consider artisan beer. We decided to take our big orange truck out west and devote incredible time and resources to this project. We spent time in the fields carefully selecting the wet hops we knew would be perfect for us. From there, we drove them directly back to Treehouse, cold, flush with nitrogen, and directly into your beer. The result is some of the best wet hop beers we've ever made. We hope you have a chance to try them.